Hello and welcome to Your Coaching Journey, a podcast for doctors about coaching. Whether you're a coaching doctor, a doctor who is learning to coach, or a doctor who'd like to build coaching into your professional life, then this is the podcast for you. Hello, I'm Tom Dillon, and with me today is my co-host and business partner, Helen Leathers. How are you today, Helen?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm feeling very inspired this morning. We've just had our coaching conference where we've brought together 70 of our coaching doctors in person, which was lovely. We normally see them online, so it was great just to have them face to face. So a lovely occasion. So I'm feeling very inspired.
Yeah, it was an absolutely lovely day. Really enjoyed it.
Good. So what are we talking about today, Helen?
Today we are going to have a little round of listeners' questions.
Hurrah! We like listeners' questions.
We do.
We like to tell people what we think about what they are interested in.
Yes, that's good to know they're listening.
Yeah.
So our first question today comes from a doctor called Nick. And Nick would like to know, what tools or exercises would you use for someone wanting to address issues around their finances?
Oh,
I know, interesting,
yeah.
eh? So what do you think? Where would you start with that?
I've no idea. Tools around finances. I don't really have tools.
I don't think there's a specific tool to use specifically around finances. I think that's probably the straightforward answer.
Yeah, I'm sure if you were a financial advisor, you would have tools. Planning tools, financial planning tools.
Reviewing tools,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
All
Projection
of that stuff.
tools.
Yeah.
So my first thought around that was perhaps issues being beliefs, habits, behaviours they've learned growing up.
So that money mindset
idea. Which you see a lot in marketing online, don't you? Sort out your money mindset. And there's lots of people who specialise in that as coaches. And I think that there's always something that we learn from our parents, from our upbringing, around how to manage money, but also how to feel about money, how to feel about people with money or without money.
Yeah.
So I think there's some beliefs thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose issues around money could be that they don't have any.
Yes, absolutely.
So they might be struggling with their money. So that might be around some them getting an understanding of where they are with their money. So a reality check on what's happening with their money.
Yes, where are you now?
Yeah, and thoughts about how they might address their money issues. So, and again, it's not really for us to tell them how to do that, is it? So It could be about their budgeting. It could be about overspending. It could be all sorts of different things. And I guess that exploration of their current situation to find out what's really going on, and maybe some limiting beliefs or maybe some assumptions they're making about money.
Yes.
And I guess what they want to have happen, that change piece of, well, okay, you've got some issues, what would you like to have happen? And then we can start thinking about their options, about how they do go about it. Options for them. Yes.
I know I had a client once who was saying, I don't really manage my money well, so I'd like to think about how I could do that. And so I asked some questions and she came up with a plan to look at her budget and to, think about where she was paying too much money for things. And so it was quite a straightforward, coaching session, really. It just happened to be about money. But then there's also, I suppose, career development, which would bring in more money if you were lacking. There's ideas.
What's just coming to my mind is sort of the conversations people have around money is similar to the conversations they have around health and their eating habits. And if you ever watched Michael Mosley doing his thing where he asks people what they eat in a week and then he ambushes them in a supermarket.
I love that.
And sees their trolley full of rubbish.
Yes.
When they say, no, I only eat one biscuit a week.
It's for the kids, honest.
And I think some people will have that denial thing, that they think they're managing them, or they'll talk about their money in a way that they're managing it well, but actually massively overspend.
I think what's interesting also there perhaps is values, doing some values work. I know that I've worked with people in the past where they're thinking about their business and all their values are focused on giving a good service and great relationships, and then they realise that none of the values around the business are anything to do with money, and they're wondering why they're not earning any money. So I think values work would be really interesting around that.
But I do think there's an overlap between sort of financial planning and coaching, in the sense that we are looking to the future.
Yes.
We're looking to what they want to achieve in the future. So the question about issues suggests that there's some immediate problem, but it could be that they're just worried about how they're going to retire.
Yes.
So there might be some financial planning element to it, which requires a financial advisor who's licensed to give financial advice. We as coaches are not licensed to give financial advice.
Don't give advice.
We don't give advice. Another good reason not to give advice to your coaching clients. So around money, I think we have to be careful that we don't want to be sued.
Absolutely. But there could be some good work in terms of mindset that we could do with people.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it just comes back to our coaching approach, which is, if we follow Tom's code, we look at what they want to achieve, what the outcome is that they want, why that's important to them. Look at the current situation, look at the change they want to see, look at their options, and look at what direction they're going to go in, and then do a bit of an evaluation of everything they're thinking about their money at the end.
Yeah.
What's changed for them in the coaching about how they're thinking about money. So I think we can do good work, but I don't have specific tools for budgeting, financial planning. That's for a financial advisor to look at.
Yeah, but I think probably there's some good information in what we've just said that people could pull out and explore with clients.
Hopefully.
Excellent.
Good.
Hopefully that helped, Nick. What's our next question?
Our next question is from a GP called Laura, who's asking, I've seen some coaches using a pre-coaching questionnaire. Is this something you use? And if so, what would it include?
Interesting. I know people who use pre-coaching questionnaires as well. I don't.
Neither do I.
No. I like to have a call with people and have a
I think
chat.
we both work in the same way, don't we? You have a discovery call, I have a chemistry call.
Yeah,
the same thing. And during that call, we would find out what the individual was interested in, what their issues were, what the outcome was they wanted to see from the coaching.
And if coaching was the right thing for them, is that what they're looking for?
Yeah, so all of that could be achieved in a questionnaire, but I think a more personal touch and a chance to get to know the coaching client is a much better way to approach it, really. It seems a bit formal, a coaching questionnaire.
I suppose you might want to have something which is formal where you have contact details and, so you know all of the various ways that you can get in touch with them. But I wouldn't ask them to fill out a questionnaire before coaching. Equally, I know people who do questionnaires between sessions, like journey trackers almost, what's happened between the sessions. And again, I like them to arrive at the session and talk about what's happening for them that day.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a coaching questionnaire. I think for some people it would serve them well to have something in writing that, as a coach, they could follow and go, oh, well, when they filled out the questionnaire, there was this that they were interested in. So it might be that you capture something that you can then use in the coaching. But we're quite emergent in our coaching, aren't we? So we wouldn't want to stick to what they initially said was what they wanted to talk about, because quite often it's not.
Yeah, and things change. Yeah, absolutely.
And that idea of a questionnaire in between could be useful for some people.
Yes.
So I think our answer is we don't. But we wouldn't dissuade someone from doing it.
Yeah.
If that's what you felt you'd like to do and it would help you, then feel free.
And I think in terms of what's in it, think about what you want to know prior to the session, and what would it be helpful for your potential coachee to reflect on prior to the session. But personally, I like the call because I want to know if we're going to work together. I want to know what they know about coaching already, and I want to know that this is the right step for them to take.
Yeah, and I don't think the questionnaire would replace the coaching call.
No, hopefully
the chemistry
not.
Session. Because we need, I think it's a good chance to find out if you're a good fit. And I've certainly had coaching clients that we've had that discovery call, that chemistry call, and we knew it wasn't going to be, so we didn't work together. And I think that's good. I think that's a good place to be. If there isn't that rapport, if there
Yeah.
isn't, I mean, there isn't the rapport instantly with everyone, but you get a sense of whether you can work with someone.
Yeah. And I think that I've had people who've had a call and then said, actually, I've just realised this isn't for me. What I need is, like, whether it's a mentor or a therapist or whatever, that was their first step. Yeah. So
we were a bit of a filter in that respect. They could have a call with us. Now you might decide as a coach you haven't got time for all of that nonsense. You want them to fill out a questionnaire in their own time. And you're just going to do it all by email. But I think you miss something of the richness of the relationship if you don't have that call. So we've started to answer the thing about a questionnaire by saying, have a chemistry call.
Yes.
Have a discovery call. Talk to them. That's what coaching is all about, having the conversation.
Yeah. Have a pre-coaching questionnaire if you wish, but don't let it replace that initial conversation, I think, is what we're saying.
Good. Well
okay.
Done. Yes.
Excellent. Now, one of our trainees, they're just coming to the end of their training, emailed me this week. Lovely lady called Emma. Mm-hmm. And her question was about the ideal frequency of coaching sessions. Like, how long should she leave it between sessions?
Yeah, another one of those. How long's a piece of
string? I know.
Yeah. So, and obviously you organise programs for your coachees.
Yes.
So you will have maybe a six session program, a 12 session program. So how would you, on your discovery call, how would you then suggest that they approach this pacing of those?
It's interesting because when I first started this program, I would see clients weekly, and it was okay for most clients. Then during the lockdown and COVID era, it seemed that it was all just a little bit too much and too frequent, and I switched to fortnightly. And that works much better now. And I think, so what I do is I think I prefer to work fortnightly with people. And when we're on that call and they ask me about what I offer, I will say that I prefer to work fortnightly, which takes a 12-session program over 6 months. So I kind of put that out there as the way that I work and see what their response to that is. So personally, I like to work fortnightly, but it can be done weekly. And I think I also then have clients who get to the end of that program and want to continue, but fortnightly then perhaps maybe too frequently. So we go to monthly.
Yeah.
And then perhaps, later down the line, it's more ad hoc.
I think I tend to go for monthly. So that tends to be, I like them to be doing some work in between, some change work to see what's happening for them. So there's a bit of time there. If there's something really pressing, so if someone comes and there's some emotions that come up in that first session, Adelaide, maybe a couple of years ago now, who really just was very emotional all the way through her first session, cried through most of it, and there wasn't a lot of time to do any coaching beyond listening. And at the end of that session, I said, well, coaching is definitely going to help, and let's schedule another session, and let's do it next week.
Yeah.
Because there was that need. Definitely, she needed some. Actually, as it turned out, when she came back, she was, I'm much better now. And obviously, having sat and been allowed to talk for an hour did something. Yeah. So she on the surface, she was much better a week later, but there was still work to be done.
Of course.
So then after that, we did go to 2 weekly and then monthly. So it did change according to her need. And that was me guiding that. So, but normally it's monthly, because quite often I'm coaching within organisations and there is something perhaps that they want to try out. There's conversations they want to have with people. So a month to then see what they've actually managed to achieve in that month is a good time stamp, I think. And
I think that what we have to bear in mind is we're working with doctors and they're busy. And so you have to think about what works for you as a coach. Yeah. So in response to Emma, but to all of our busy doctors who are coaching, what works for you and then have a conversation with your client, because they may very well also be in the medical profession. They may very well also be busy. So what works for the two of you together, I think, is the best. But don't leave it too long, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was first coaching, I was coaching on a leadership program, and I think the second year that it was running, they kind of scaled it back a little bit, and they gave us 4 sessions over 6 months, which is a really odd dynamic then, because it meant every 2 months. So you had your first one, then 2 months later, 1, 2, 2. And it was just too long. They'd forgotten what it was they talked about in the first session, which, sometimes they've moved on anyway, and that's no longer a burning issue. But it just felt, well, this is too far apart.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't suggest leaving it any longer than a month.
No, me either. Excellent. I think that the how long's a piece of string answer is very much dependent on your situation.
I'm just thinking about it. I have someone that I've been seeing for 10 years who I see once a quarter.
Okay.
Because he really loves that coaching space. He really loves the opportunity to sit and think for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And not be interrupted by someone. So that's gone. That's a relationship that's lasted 10 years, just seeing someone once a quarter.
Yeah. So start with your diary. What can you manage? Have a conversation and play it by ear, I guess. Yeah. We're very play it by ear people, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. And I'm just thinking again, sorry, this is going to keep going on, isn't it? Keep having new thoughts. But I was just thinking, if people are involved in health changes, so we have quite a number of our doctors that are interested in lifestyle medicine and are talking to people about their health. Now, it might be that they want to have something every week.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Because they are making changes to their diet, to their exercise regime and everything else. So there may be that they feel they want someone there to support them in the early stages to help with that. So again, it's just going to depend.
I'm glad we can bring some clarity to your life. Thanks, Emma.
Yes. Good.
Great. I think they were a good batch of questions this session.
Yeah, we do enjoy our question and answer. It makes us think, doesn't it? I don't tend to give too much thought to it before we come on air.
No,
which is
just so that you know, we put ourselves on the spot a bit.
Which is good, I think, because then people get the real answer from us. It's
Absolutely.
not a pre-prepared answer. Well, thank you, Helen. I enjoyed that. Next time on the podcast, we will be exploring the world of pricing around coaching, which I think a lot of people get very muddled with. So I think that's going to be a great topic to explore.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.